Hey everyone, before we get into the tutorial, I just want to say a huge thank you. The video's already reached 4,800 views, and honestly, seeing that makes me incredibly happy. That's just a crazy amount of views. I really appreciate every single person who's watched and supported it. I also want to apologise for how long this tutorial took to come out. I ran into some frustrating file corruption issues, which delayed things a lot more than I expected. So, thank you all for being patient. Lastly, we're currently at 81 subscribers, which is just amazing, as it's always been my goal to reach 100 subscribers. So, if we're able to get the last couple subscribers from this video, that would mean a lot. I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates it, as that was only a couple days ago now. And yeah, just I hope everybody has a happy new year. Anyways, let's get right into the tutorial. So you need a command block, redstone dust, a redstone torch, redstone repeater, and a piston. The command block will be in the operator utilities section. Now, some of you might not have this section enabled, as you need to enable it in settings, but no worries, as you can just type in the command give, then your username, and then Minecraft command block, and that will give you a command block like that. Alright, so to begin with the build, first off, we're going to have to build something I like to call a redstone key. Now, this isn't an official name. I don't know if there is an official name for it, but basically all it is you're going to place a piston there, redstone torch there, and then depending on how long you want the signal to be, you extend this further. I usually don't make it too long, but like with the repeaters, you can extend that time by changing the ticks on it. But basically all that does, as you saw, is the redstone torch appears, and then after a short second, the piston destroys it. This is all we need. Now, if you've got a laggy computer, or sometimes there's a bug where these will just stack up in space and stop the torch from being able to be replaced here, because there's like a bunch of them there. I usually like to build like a little pit here, and if I get some lava, I usually like to do this, build a little pit here, so that when it spawns in, once it's done, it gets knocked into lava, so there's no pile up. That is not necessary though. If you've got a less laggy system like myself, you should be okay, but it's always good to have there just in case. The reason we build this is so that we can let out a redstone signal, and then the signal will be destroyed shortly after, because if it remains active, then it won't be able to be reused. So what we're going to do is we're going to place a block there, solid block for now, because it's a little easier to look at than trying to look at this block, but you know, it doesn't really make a difference. And you're going to type in the command fill, and you'll get the coordinates here. So this is the XYZ. So you're going to click on the position, which is the position of the block we're currently looking at. Click on it again, because we want to fill the same position, whereas this would be like a second location. Say we want to fill a different area. We do the same block because we want to fill just one area. You're then going to type in redstone torch, if I could spell. And as you can see now, the redstone torch will spawn there anytime we enter the command, and the signal will be placed there. So if we were to, for example, place a block there, we do /fill that area, and it will say we've got an error because the command's incomplete. But we then come over here now, and we're looking at the second block. It now gives us the location of the second block, which is different to the first block. And we can then fill it with grass blocks, for example. And now we have a small section of grass blocks. So if I get rid of that now. So, how do we actually get the redstone torch there? Because we don't want to come and place a redstone torch there every time we want to do something. That is where the platform comes in for the tube itself. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to break at least 3 blocks there, just so you can see what you're doing. You're going to build a little platform over it, and obviously you can put this within your build, so you can place whatever blocks you want, but I'll just be using the sandstone. Or actually, I'll use concrete, because it might be a little easier to see the difference between the two. So, we'll fill this in with concrete here, and then our command block will go under there. Now, a redstone button can go through one block, as long as the button's placed down on the actual, like, block that's above the command block. So, for example, if I were to place it here, that command block isn't currently receiving a signal. If I were to place it here, then that command block now does receive the signal. So then what we're going to do is we take the position that we got for here with the redstone torch. So if I just go back in our chat history, we'll have that there. We just copy and paste that, enter that in, and you've got the command there. So now when I press this button, the torch will spawn and it will activate our key, which we can then use to do the rest of our commands. So now that we've got our key and we can activate that, we can now build what I like to call a fork. Again, not an official name. But if we just bring that a couple forward, and then we build what basically looks like a fork shape. Like we look at it from above. In my opinion, that looks like a fork. Although I've built that quite far along, I could just move that along like that. Yeah, looks quite like a fork in my opinion, so I call it a fork. We can replace those with repeaters as well, because that would just make it a bit more. Like it will retain the strength of the redstone if you know how repeaters work and so on. These 4 blocks here now are going to act as our tube, and this is going to be a very long system. So before I begin, I'm just going to give you guys a short little tutorial on the copying and the pasting and so on. Using the fill command is very simple, as you saw in the previous clip. Additionally, copying and pasting commands are quite simple. If you've done copying and pasting on a computer before, you should already know this. But basically, if I were to get this block here, type in fill, do as I did before, and replace it with, I don't know, quartz block, then that will change. That's how the fill command works, as you saw before. If I then go into my chat and I press the up arrow key, you will then go through your chat's history. You can go back and view everything you've previously done. So if we go back to that quartz block command, you can then hold down Control and A at the same time to highlight it all, Control and C to copy it, and Control and V to then paste it, which we can do there. So we can bring that command back and change it to a log, or paste it again and change it to a fence. That's all you need to know. More or less, this is all we're going to be doing throughout the tutorial, so once you master this step, everything else becomes quite easy. Anyways, let's get back to the tutorial. Alright, so now that we have our fork, we can actually begin building the tube. As you may remember from my video, the tube surrounded the button, and when you press the button, the tube flowed down around me. So the first thing we're going to want to do is determine how tall we want our tube. Now, I'm going to build quite a small tube because I don't want this tutorial to take too long, but you guys can extend this tube as far as you like. So I'm going to just build a very short tube. I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll go 7. And then I'm going to place a 8th section above, and this will be where our tube will bring us up to. So I'm going to place a hole here because we want to go from this floor to this floor. So now we have our 2 floors, and we want to bring ourselves from the bottom floor to the top floor. So what we're going to want to do, and I'll actually replace my concrete here so you guys can... Or actually, I'll even do glass now. That's glass. Glass. Sorry about that. And we want the tube to lower down around us. So the easiest way to do this is try to separate the 4 sides of the tube into 4 sections. So we've got section 1, which will be here to here. Then we'll have section 2, which will be like there to there. Section 3, that will be there to there. And then section 4. Or we could do section 1, section 2, section 3, and section 4. Either way, it works. So we're going to do the fill command here. So we'll do that location, enter. That will give us the error. Again, don't worry about it. You can either click on that and it'll bring you back to it, or you can do what I showed you before and just go back in the history. You then copy the second location and then fill it with glass, or whatever block you want to lower. I'd recommend glass, obviously. You could do stained glass, you could do tinted glass, anything works. But I'll just do basic glass for this tutorial. So you then grab that, press Control A, Control C, and then you've got it copied. So now you can remove that. And we can label them as well, which will help us remember later. I don't usually label them because I tend to just do it and get it fine. But if you want to get a... I don't even know where the signs are. If you just want to get a sign, you could go 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4. And those are your sides. So then you could go 1 is here, 2 is here, 3 is here, and 4 is here. I would recommend doing this because in the long run, if you're trying to fix any bugs, it's easier to figure out what side is causing what bug, and so on and so forth. But if you can remember all this, then there's no need to, as it will save you a lot of time. So we want section 1 here to be these 3 that we just copied. So we'll come over to this part here. We're going to get our command that we previously had. I believe I already have it copied, yep. And we can just paste that in there. So now, when we press our button, we get the first 3 pieces of glass, right? Perfect. But we don't want the glass to be down here. We want it to begin up there and eventually make its way down to the bottom, correct? All right. So what you're going to want to do now is you'll notice that we're in the same spot, right? If we look at the command here, you'll notice that it says 30, 57, 296. Those are the XYZ of this block. Now, if we were to go to the Y section, which is up and down, and we go 58 and enter, and then we go to this section and we fill this section, and we notice that this has its own coordinate. It's at 57. We go to 58. And then we enter glass, sorry about that. It will go to the section above, which is perfect. Because using this method, this is how we create the animated feel to the tube and how it looks like it's actually lowering from the ceiling. So what you're going to want to do, and this is where things get very tedious but very easy, is you're going to want to place down as many command blocks as the length of your tube, as I said before. So we did 7 blocks. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you're just going to want to take your command block, like your paste, and just change the Y level for each section. So if the last one was 57, then you go to 58. If the last one was 58, then you go to 59, and so on. Now, that was the original way I built this tube, and it was very slow and very tedious. But what I've learned is a really useful trick, and if you don't know it already, then you will thank me for knowing it now, is that you don't need to do all this. If you hold down the control key and then press your third mouse button, or that's the scroll wheel if you click on it, I will now copy this command block. Now, if you just generally click the middle mouse button on any block, it will automatically bring you to that block in your inventory, or it will copy it into your inventory. But if you look here, on the normal command block, it just says command block, and it tells you the location of the command block as well as the command block's name in the files and how many components it has. But if we come over to this one, it now has, oh, well, usually it would have the term plus MBT, which means it has copied the information of the block. But it seems here that it gives you a warning, because obviously this block is now the exact same as this block. So it's warning you, oh, this might cause something to happen, so be careful. So we copy this block now. I'm going to just move some things out of the way of my inventory. And we get rid of all these. Because, to begin with, if we want our tube to come down, we don't want the final block to appear first. We'll put that there. That will be our final point. 57 is our final point. So we replace all these blocks now. And then we place our sign here. That'll be 1. We can now go into any of these, and they'll all have the same command. So all we have to do now is replace each of these with the next following number. So that's 58 now. This will be 59. This will be 60. And you keep going until we get to the final block. So that'll be 61. 62, and finally 63. And that should be it. So we then press our button now, we should see the tube go from the top block down to the bottom block. Perfect. That works great. If you want the tube to be slower, you can just increase the ticks on the repeaters. You can add extra repeaters with more ticks, and you can just work that out for yourself, like how long you want the tube to take to lower. In general, I feel like it's fine to just leave it as it is normally. And obviously you want to use the repeaters and not redstone dust, because you want the signal to remain strong, because otherwise it can glitch, it can break completely in my experience. So it's easier to just use repeaters to be sure. I'm going to spare you the time of watching me place down each single block, but this is just the sequence you need to remember, is just get the first blocks, or the top blocks. It doesn't matter where you start from, as long as it's the top or the bottom. And then you just repeat until you get the full sequence. So you want the highest block to be there at the front of the line, and then you want the lowest block to be here at the end of the line. Alright, so if you've followed the method correctly, you should have something that looks like this, where you have 1 to 4 and all the command blocks are in place and have the right position. Another thing that I would recommend doing if you're easily lost when it comes to remembering these things is just placing down the Y level of each section. So that is 63, this is 57, and you now have kind of a reminder of which is what. You can then give your tube a little test just by pressing the button, and it should hopefully bring the tube down in that nice animation that you might have seen in my video. And that's perfect. The torch was destroyed, the tube was built, and everything's working fine. Now onto the part where we actually get the tube to lift us up, because unlike the show, we can't just blow some air into the tube and send us off wherever we need to go. We need to actually make this happen. We do this by using the levitate effect. Similar to how if we place down a shulker and go into survival here, and just antagonize it, it will eventually shoot us with one of its levitating orbs. Or not. Hello. I don't even think he wants to hit me. Oh, wow. Oh, kill it. Well, as I was trying to demonstrate, when you're attacking a shulker, they might hit you with one of their orbs, which causes you to levitate. But otherwise, we can simply do this by entering a command. If you type in the command, effect, give your username, and then levitation, you will receive the levitation effect for about 30 seconds. This is quite slow though, and wouldn't look good in the tube. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to utilize this effect to make it look like we're being lifted up by the tube. This can be done by changing the properties of the effect. If you see here, you have little pointers as to what you're currently changing on the effect. So you have the target, which is myself, and then the effect. So we'll put in levitation again. But then if we continue, we should now be able to type in, oh sorry, that's the clear section, no wonder. I was like, what? So you'll see here now, you have the seconds, and you can choose either to have it infinitely or a certain amount of time. So it will be in seconds always. So if we wanted it to last a minute, we do 60 seconds. If we wanted it to last half a minute, we do 30 seconds. But I've typically found that doing it for about 10 seconds for my tube works quite well. Now, obviously, I haven't measured the amount. And the easiest way to measure the amount is just to stand where you're going to be lifted from and seeing how long it takes until you rise up to the second platform. You want to have a little bit of space, so you don't want to do it as soon as you get there. The smoother you can get it, the better, as it looks cleaner. But you can get trapped right here and then drop if you don't get it high enough. So you want your player's feet to be at least level to the platform, just about level to the platform, so that you land on the block that we're going to have later. We then have the amplifier. The amplifier is how strong you want the effect to be. So at 1, it's the general speed that we saw earlier. But if I was to put this to about 5 now, you'll see that'll raise quite quickly, and it goes for 10 seconds, which is quite long, as you can see. So what we might want to do is we might want to make ourselves quicker and make the effect last a lot less time. So we'll do 5 seconds, but then we might raise it to 7 on the amplifier. So we go up like that. And again, it's still too high. So you just need to experiment with it and see how long it takes for you to rise to the top and then change it based on that. So we might say amplifier 10, 3 seconds, and then that's quite quick. But again, we're too high still. So we could even go 1 second, amplifier 10. And then that's like perfect, as you can see, because we rise up, we get just above the block. I'll even do it in third person. And then we land. But obviously we don't land on the next platform because there's no block there. But that's what we'll sort out next. All right, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to bring a like redstone signal outwards towards here. And the closer it is to the platform, the better, as the way we're going to apply this effect so that anybody can use the tube is that we're going to make it so it gives the effect to the closest players to the command block. I've tried using the other types of like effect given, but this seems to work the best. I don't know why. But if we bring this over here now, and obviously you'll put most of this redstone underground, so most of the time you can just put it way lower than the block. Not too far, obviously, but just lower than the block so that you can target only the person standing on the platform. But we will put the command block there, and then... Oh, that's the wrong thing. I need to copy that. Copy that. Put that in there. So now, anytime we press this, it will come down and it will raise us up, which is perfect. We need to change our name to... You'll see we have many options. We have all players, all entities, which are like mobs, nearest entity, nearest player, random player, or current entity. Now, I used to try use current entity because I thought, well, the current entity would be the person pressing the button. But because you're not sending the signal directly to the block, it doesn't know who the nearest, or sorry, the current entity is. So say I were to press the button, say there was a button there, and I were to press it, it would know it's me because I would be the one sending that signal across. But because we're sending a signal to the key, and then the key's activating, it doesn't know who to identify because the key is not the player. So what you do is you do the nearest player, not the nearest entity. So that when I press the button, tube will lower and we will raise. As you saw, the tube had barely lowered. I'll get rid of the tube and then I'll show you. Yeah, so as you can see, when we go to push the button, the tube barely lowers before we start to raise, which isn't very effective. So what we need to do is we need to delay the time that the tube takes to open, or sorry, the effect takes to activate before the tube is like lowered. So the easiest way to do this is just to add a few ticks. Now, obviously, you'll need to experiment with this as well, as I don't know how long the tube is for you and how long it will take for it to fully lower, but I'll add that much time to it and we'll give it another go. So let me just clear the tube again, put the button back, and then if we press this button now, we'll see the tube lowers and then we raise up, and that's perfect timing. So yeah, that just shows my experience with it. So I'll get rid of that again, put the button down, and we've now got the system to work in unison and it looks good. So what we're going to want next is a block to place at the top there and to remove as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this section, because obviously we don't want there to just be a hole in our ceiling. So we'll put a block there and that will be where we land. So we type in the fill command here, do the same thing as usual, and we do red concrete. That will now fill with red concrete. So what we can do now is when we come over to this section here, we can bring a command block over. So we need to change one of these signals. So I'll enhance that one and then bring that over here. And we're actually going to get it. Sorry about that, guys. Just had to sort something out quickly. So you come over to this block here and you paste in your concrete command block. But you're actually going to replace this with air, so that when you press your tube and the blocks come down and you're giving the levitation effect, this block will actually empty the space, so we can watch it from the outside here. The hole will open and will be lifted, which is perfect because then that will bring us back up to the spot and we have a place to actually enter through. Now we need, like I said, we'll need the block to catch us. So what we're going to do now is we've got a time when we get up there and then place a block there to catch us. So I'll fill that with air, put that button back. So the redstone torch places, the tube builds itself. We're then going to connect all these at the end. Going to connect all these. And then to the side here, because we know that this section is quicker than that section, we'll put a bit of delay on that. and then we'll put down a command block, and then fill with red concrete again. So hopefully now, if we press this button, it will lower, we'll raise up. Oh, and that's way too quick, as you saw. So again, it's just to do with experimenting. But we will just, I'm just going to copy that, put that there, and add 2 more repeaters. You just experiment, and you see how long it takes you to raise up, and then you fill in the hole. So if I press the button again now, that will open, we'll raise up, and perfect. We get caught by the block. We can test that one more time just to be sure. The best thing to do during making this tube is just test a lot, because the timing can be great, or it can be horrible. But that works fine. The only part you need now is to then add the tube raising back into the ceiling, as we want the tube to be able to carry us up and then raise back into the ceiling like it does in the show. So what we're going to do now with this extra part we built out here is we're then going to build another fork. So if I just extend this out here and I go 1, 2, 3. Oh, I've done that a bit too close there. 1, 2, 3, 4. We now have our second fork. This section again is one of the most tedious, but it's one of the most easy. As you can see, we have the highest block to the lowest block. We now need it to do the opposite. So if you've got enough common sense, then you'll know exactly what we need to do. We just need to reverse the order. Now, you can either do this in 2 ways. You can either do what you did before and just copy one block and then change the values. Or if you want to confuse yourself and make things really tough for yourself, but it's how I like to do it, is I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you literally just... Oh, hold on. Let me add in the repeaters there as well. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're literally just going to go... This is the first block. So 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63. That's it. You're done. And I'm just going to repeat that for each section. So I'll just get rid of all of them. God, that takes a long time. Get rid of them. Come over here. We get the lowest block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then for the first block, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's literally all it is. So if we were to push the tube now, it will lower, and then we'll see the first 2 sides raise back up after a while. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Okay, I was thinking, why is it not working? We're still filling with glass. And this is why you also have the key, because otherwise you'd be trying to fill the same spot with the same thing and it just won't work. Don't do what I've just done. If you've already done this, I'm so sorry. Come to here, replace that with air, and then do the same thing that I was doing. Just make sure before you start, you replace the tag with air, so that when you do it now, if I go all the way back, we should now see the first block at least replaced with air. Oh yeah, no, there we go. It's down here. It will replace with air, but obviously I've done it in the stupid way, and I've forgotten to tell you guys to replace with air. So to summarize, get the first block. Or just you can do it the way I did it, where you just copy the blocks over. It is quite easy. But it's even easier now, because then you don't even have to click between the yellow and the blue section. Just literally just change all of these to air. Which is still quite tedious, but it's a lot easier. So just go through all these, replace with air, and you're sorted. So I'm not going to do all of these on the video again, to save your time and my own, because I won't have nothing to say to you guys about it. It is literally just going through all of these, replacing them with air, and hitting enter. Okay guys, we're back, and sorry about that. That was a terrible mistake of mine, and I believe that's not even the first time I've made that mistake. So based on my previous designs, I've given it about 5 blocks with all the repeaters extended to the final point, and then I have just done the system here where they are going from front to back. I've also put down the sign saying where the first block is and the last block is. Hey guys, so one thing I've noticed as well during the replacement of the command blocks is that if you're on a computer, I don't even believe you can do this on PlayStation or Xbox. I haven't attempted it, but I'm not too sure. But if you're doing this, you can just double click, and it will also do the copy section. It didn't do it back when I first made the tubes, which was ages ago, but I've realized that you can do it now. So yeah, you can just double click and then fill it with air, which is even quicker. But that's all I wanted to say. Okay, so now if we've done that all correctly, we should be able to press the button, the tube will lower, we'll be given the effect, but we'll be watching it externally, so we won't actually gain the effect because I'll be flying. The block will open at the top, and then the block will close again afterwards. And then the tube should retract. So let's give that a go. So the block's open, we've got the effect, and that closes. Although I did notice there's a little glitch there, so we're just going to come over to here and see what I might have done wrong. So 63, 62, 61, 60, 59, 58, 57. Those are all air. That's 63, 62, 61, 60, 59, 58, 57, 3, 62, 61. That's weird. Why did we get that glitch? Hold on, we'll see that again and just see what happened. It was on 54. Sorry, section 4. So why is there such a delay there? It was on the last 3. Wait. Oh! Oh, I put these in the wrong order. I might actually be dumb, guys. I might actually be kind of dumb. Okay, so don't make the same mistake I did. You probably haven't. I'm just a little bit silly, guys. I'm just a bit of a goober. So that should be 63. Perfect. This is why I say to make the sign marks, because these are the kind of mistakes I make which costs me ages. So we now press that. Tube will open. Oh, well, need to do that again. So tube will open, we got the effect, tube closes, and it raises back up. Perfect. That's all we need to do now. That's the tube working. And that you can more or less call it a day there. Now, if you want it to be exactly like the one in my video, I also added sound effects, which are quite easy to do. And I also realized if you want to do the lava system here that I showed you, you need to change this a bit. Really simply, you just build that there. Lava. I'm gonna get rid of something. Like that. And then you really just need to kind of configure it. Like, you could just put it there, even. So we go 1, 2, and then we go connect there, and then like that. Like, even that just works. You just need them all connected, and then that will still work for the lava thing. You can also do 1 there. And you can add sound effects, or even text, like I did. So I added some text for ambient, so you could just do say, and then the tube lowers, for example, and you can set these along your thing to stay at specific times, and you can change the timing of them using the repeaters. So we could just have that there, and it will now say the tube lowers. Let's just test that as well, because I did move that and I want to make sure it still works. But again, a lot of this just has to do with testing. So as you can see, because of the difference now, it does take too long. So if I just come to it and change it there, we should now hopefully, yep, it's perfect again. So yeah, again, just test a lot with it. We now have the lava, which will help with lag, even though they will despawn eventually if you don't pick them up. So yeah, just test it out, kind of experiment with what works for you. But most of it is just the same formula, different areas. So if you wanted to add sound, this is just a little separate bit. All you need to do is come into the command console, do play sound, and then I typically like to do the beacon sound, as I think that sounds quite good. And then you'll be given all these options here, which at first confused me as well, but you'll be able to figure them out now. If you go to your settings and their music and sounds, you'll see that you have all the different music options. For example, I've got my music off. So if we had set the command block to music, then I wouldn't have been able to hear it because I have my music off. Depending on what you set the sound to is where it will play for the player. So if you've got it set to blocks and they have it set down to 27%, they'll only hear it at that volume. I generally do master volume, just so no matter what, anybody can hear it, as this is just the overall volume of the game itself. But if you want to be nice and allow people to choose whether they hear your tube or not, then you can set this to a specific block. I don't believe you have all the options in here, but you have more of the general ones. You have ambient, you have block, hostile, like hostile mobs, music, neutral, and player. I typically just put it on master, as I said, as this means that no matter where, anybody will hear it, which is good. So we then go on our tube now, press the button. We should hear the sound, or not. Let me see, maybe. We'll do player. So we'll do that. That is weird. Hold on. It used to work on other ones. Okay, that is strange. I'm going to check what my block says. Okay, guys, so I just checked my actual system and I realized where I'd gone wrong. There was nothing wrong with this, so we can actually set this to master volume. I just realized I forgot to set it to like who we want to play the sound to. So again, you just do nearest player, because again, the button isn't connected to the block, so it's not going to be able to identify the nearest player or the activator of the command block. So if you just do that, we should now, yep, we now hear the sound. I'll just do that one more time because I was speaking over it. But again, yeah, I just purely forgot you need to set who hears the sound. So we have that there, which is wonderful. And you can add the text, you can add the sound. Up to you, you can add both. it's purely up to whether you want to add it or not. So once that's all done, your tube's done. But some of you may be wondering, how do you then get the tube to work both ways? As on my build, not only could you lower yourself down, but you could also then bring yourself back up. The simplest way to put this is you're just going to want to rerun the system again. So rather than lowering the tube and then bringing the tube back up, you're then going to want it to lower the tube on the inside, bring you down, and then bring the tube back up. So I'm not going to build the whole thing because that is going to take forever. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my build here. Let's go and spectate. It'll be a bit easier to get over there. And I'm just going to walk you through how I did the opposite way. So you'll see we have the system here. We've got the key. So there's a button through here, which activates the system with the key. This is the sound, which I have as the deactivation sound. But instead of levitation, you get slow falling, which will bring you down gracefully. So we have the key here. It goes through. We've got the command telling you where you're, like, got the command telling you the text, where you're going, blah, blah, blah. You've got the block being removed with the air. You then have the block being filled with air again here. This is for a different thing, which I'll show you in a second. But then here, it's literally just the same thing. You're just bringing the glass down. And then, I don't know why I made this so long. What the hell? Why did I make that so long? I could have just done, like that shows you my improvement. I used to do it like that, just to get good timing. But now you can just put, like, 3 and have the same effect. And then you just fill it with air again. So, I'll go over here and I'll show you what that's like. So when I press the button now, it makes the gap and it brings you down with slow falling. And then the tube will lower and re-enter. I'll see if I can do it quickly, but obviously I'm trying to do this on my own. So as you can see, the tube lowers and then it will raise back up and the block will close. So it's the exact same thing that we've done over here, except you do it the opposite. So rather than tube lowering and then raising back into the ceiling, well, it is the same thing. Yeah, no, what am I saying? It is the same thing. So you want the tube to lower and you want it to raise back into the ceiling. But rather than being raised up, you just want to be pulled down. So more or less build the exact same thing for a separate button, but just give yourself slow falling. And that's pretty simple. Is slow falling is the exact same as the other command. I'm even going to copy it. It just has different properties. So whereas if I do my levitate command here, I'll raise up to the platform. Slow falling is just the opposite. So if I do slow falling, but as you see, it has different properties. So you're actually going to want it to last longer and do less, because the stronger the slow falling, the slower you're going to fall. So we'll do like 5 seconds of slow falling for amplifier of 3. I'm going to come up to here. Even that feels like a long time. So I'm actually going to make it only 3 seconds. So 3 and 3. So we'll lower it down like that. See, we can make it less. We could go slow falling 1. It's just so that you don't take damage, basically. You could literally just drop down the tube, but again, you take damage, so it makes it just a little bit more graceful. I can't remember, does it work? Yeah, it's slower if it's higher, so the lower you have it, the better, but then you just have to make the timing for your tube correct. But other than that, it is literally the exact same thing. The final thing you want to do, which is something you might want to do anyways, which is something I did for my one, is that when you press the button, this light behind it flashes. And now if you know the fill command now, this is probably self-explanatory, but it is very simple, and it works very easily. It is literally just, you get the 2 blocks and you just fill that position. So if I come up here, that works, and then I press that there, and line myself up properly, I'll do that again. And if I line myself up there, and lower down, you just fall down. I don't remember what the exact properties are for that, but I will just check that quickly so you guys can see. Which one was it? It was... I put it close to the wall so that you get it. I've got it at 13 for 5 seconds. So yeah, you can do it higher if you want a smoother descent, but again, it really just depends on how you want it to go. And then as you can see over here, this is the glowstone. So it's literally just I took the position and it just flashes between glowstone and black concrete in quick succession. I did add a little delay because it was a little too quick, but other than that, it is literally just replacing the blocks. And that again, as you can see there, sorry, I should just show you up close. That then again, it's just right before the blocks start coming down. There's not much delay on it, a little bit, but not a lot. And it's literally just up to where you want it to appear, and you just need to experiment with that. I'm going to also go underneath this build. It's quite a big build, which we've done a lot on. And just show you my system here. So it is more or less the same here as well, as you can see. I kind of like stacked it here. I don't know why, but like it is literally the exact same thing that we built over there, just more complicated because it was the first time I built it. Yeah, we've got the glowstone system there. It starts like right after the tube comes down, because when the tube's coming down, I want it to flash, and then when the tube's coming down as we try to re-enter the base, I want it to also have the glowstone flashing. And then again, we've got the air here. I don't actually remember what this is. Oh, this is just the text. Okay, yeah. So again, just the text, then filling in the blocks. This comes back around and fills it back. Obviously, we've like decomplicated that now with the more advanced view, but this again is just the same thing as the last one, as it just brings the signal back and repeats it and whatever. But yeah, surprisingly enough, I actually got the tutorial done. If the file doesn't corrupt or anything, we're good. That's your tutorial. If you want to do the reverse version, as I said, it's literally just that, just repeated, but you just add slow fall in rather than levitation. And that's it. If you guys are happy with this video, please remember to like and subscribe, as it means a lot to me. And obviously there's no pressure behind it, and you can do it if you would like, but I would greatly appreciate it. Yeah, have a Merry Christmas. If you'd like any more videos or tutorials on builds that I've done or anything like that, then let me know. I've got a few videos coming out soon, hopefully, if I can be bothered to edit them. But yeah, just expect content at some point, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye, guys.